Hi guys, good afternoon. Let's get started. Let me share my screen. Can you all see my screen? Already, okay. Yes. So the last class, what we saw is we just connected to our Mongodb instance and created our CRUD app. So like creating, reading, updating, and deleting using our post API, which we have it here. Okay, so we just saw this. So today, what we'll do is, so now you know how to create a route and how to connect to the database and get the data and much more things. Okay, so now the agenda is, so there is something called modalization. So modalization, I told you, right? So you cannot write everything inside in your routes, or you cannot write. You should have a proper coding standard that you need to follow. Like you need to split them into different modules and have them imported in your application. Okay, so for example, here what we did is we created a folder called routes and have all our routes inside that particular folder and have them imported whenever we need. Okay, the same way, so we have something called mongo and we imported we have in a different file. Same way here, so we just implemented our logics, everything inside here itself, like inside your route. Okay, so this should not be the case. So we need to split these logics into a different space. Okay, so that is what modernization is, and we will see what is the purpose of .env cores and how to deploy our app to Heroku. Okay, so this is the agenda for today. Let's get started. Okay, so today it's going to be just like separating the things into a different module. Okay, so first thing is, so this is how you need to start your application, or you need to follow this particular code standards. Okay, so first thing is, so as I mentioned you already, so inside routes, you need to have all your routes, and the name should be something like posts.routes.js. Okay, same way for users.js, it should be like users.routes.js. Okay, so this is not like it's a mandatory one, but this is how you need to follow the coding standards. Okay, so now inside your route, we implemented all our logics. Okay, so these logics should be moved into a different folder or a module. Okay, and then access them whenever you need. Okay, so which is something called, we consider, or we call it as something called services. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll create a folder called services. So here in my services, I'll create a file for my post, like posts.service.services.js. Okay, so you can either use yes here and remove yes here, or you can have yes here and you don't have yes here. Okay, so something like post.route.js, same way users.route.js, and same way post.service.js. Okay, so here what we are going to write here is, so here in your route you have implemented these things, right? Like making a query to the database, like into from your MongoDB, you are entering certain result. Same way here you are doing insert operation, same way you are doing update operation. So what we need to do is we need to separate this logic, like pull out this code in this particular folder, this file, and have them imported here and call them here. Okay, so I go here. Okay, so what else we need here? I'm going to make an API call to, I'm going to make a connection to my database, right? So I'll move my Mongo things here. Okay, so then again I need to move this particular thing here. Okay, so then what else we have? So other than that, now we need to move these logics. Okay, so what I do is I'm going to create something called service here. It's an object. Okay, so basically it's an object, and here I'm going to have something called get posts and it's going to be a function. Okay. Same way. Same way, there should be something called create post. Same way, I'm going to have one more thing called update post. And the last thing is delete post. Okay. So I'm just splitting them out into a different file. Okay. So here the get post things here, right? So I'm going to move this here. Okay. So here. Same way, the insert part to be here. Same way, the update part. Okay. Same way, the delete part. Okay. So you just move into a different folder here. Okay. So then, okay, there is only one line. You can directly use return. You don't need await here. So return, and return. Okay. So I had just had something called service. I'm having all my logics inside my service here. Okay. And export it. Sorry. Module dot export equal to that service. Okay. So simple as that. Okay. I just created a service object. Inside that I have all my functions. Okay. So get post, create post, update post, and delete post. Okay. And here we are just getting react request.body, right? Okay. So what I'll do is I will have something called data here because I will send the data from there. So data that you want to create, I will have it here. Same way, the data here. Okay. And here you need your ID, right? So which is the ID that you want to update. Okay. So you can have your ID also. So here you can call them directly. Okay. So then for delete, you just need your ID. Okay. So I'll just have it here. So see, get post. Whenever there is a get post, when you call this particular function, it's going to return you all the post inside your MongoDB. Same way when you create it, insert. Same way when you update it, find on an update, and same way for delete. Okay, so it's everything is going to be in one line. Okay, so we can directly have it in this way. Okay, let it be same. I might add some new lines. Okay, so I just added this. So now go here, your post route. Okay, instead of having your things here, okay, what you need to do is just import your service. We'll have something called post service here and require the things from your service. Okay, so it's going to be inside your service folder /post.service. Okay, so now you're going to answer here. What I need to do? So I need to have await post service dot see. I need to get my post, right? Just call that particular function, okay, and return the post. Okay, simple as. Same way, here I need to update my post, right? So it's going to be await post service. I mean create, okay, and what I need to send in order to create my source, I need to send my request body, okay, and get that particular data here. Same way, what do you need to do for update? So update is going to be await again, okay, dot update post. And what else it need? It needs your ID and data. Okay. So where is the ID? Basically, it's going to be in your params. Okay. So request dot params dot ID. Okay. And then we need to have something called our request body. Okay. So if you do this, what will happen? So your ID is going here, the data that you want to update. Okay. We'll be getting it here. Okay. And update that particular data here. Okay. So simple as that. So for your delete, okay, it's going to be again same. So go here and submit it. Okay. So we'll have something called delete post, and it's going to be taking only the ID, okay, because we are going to just delete that ID. Okay. Same implementation, I just moved into a different file, okay, and have them imported here. So what happens here is, okay, so your all the logics for your post should be inside this folder, okay. So the inside should be in this file, okay, and all the routes for your post should be in this file, okay. So that's how the same applies for your users as well. If you want to create routes for your users, you can do that, okay. So for now, what I'll do is I'll delete this. I don't need it anymore. So I'll have everything implemented only with post. So I don't need users route, and I don't need users route, okay. So I have one route, post dot routes post dot route.js, okay. Or you can have any name, okay. So you can have post dot routes or post dot route. Same way, post dot services or post dot service, okay. It's just a file name, okay. If you want to use it, okay, you can use it, okay. So you can follow either of things, okay. The same implementation, just move into a service and have them imported here, okay. So modalization, same way. So what is the thing you find here? So Mongo is nothing but it's going to be common for all the services, right? So suppose if you implement users.service, again you are going to import Mongo. Same if you want to have another services, you are going to have them as imported as Mongo, okay. So whatever it is, okay, if it is a shared one, okay, you need to create a folder called shared, okay. So here, so inside your shared, we need to move our Mongo to that particular shared folder, okay. So because it's going to be a shared resource, so we'll have everything inside that shared resource, okay. So go here in the index.js. So your VS Code understand if you move that folder, it will automatically import it from the shared folder, okay. So what I did is I just split every module into a different file, okay. So here it's going to be services, here it's going to be your routes, and here it's going to be your shared resource, okay. So go here. So again, your application is going to work as the same, okay. So let me go on to my Postman. So here it's going to be like get post, okay. It's going to work the same, okay, no issues at all. So if you want to insert a new data, okay, yes, it's going to be insert, okay. Same way for posting, modifying a data, like modifying this data, and it's ready to something like this, and something like this, and something like this. So it's going to be updated, okay. So then if you want to delete the data, okay, just follow that URL, it will be deleted, okay. So all the operation exactly work as the same. No new things we have implemented, okay. We just splitted them into a different file, okay. Other than that, nothing is nothing new here, okay. So now what else? Okay, so you can even write your middleware functions here, right? So this is one kind of a middleware, and this is going to be one middleware function, okay. So you can write something called middleware.js, okay, and have them mentioned inside that middlewares.js, and have all your middleware inside it, and whenever needed we can import it here, okay. So basically we are separating out every module into different file, okay, so that in future if you want to change something, we can just go to that particular file and change that data alone, okay. Yes. So okay, so how to get only one post, like post/file? Yeah, you can go here, okay, and get write one more route, one more function in your service, like get post. So it's get posts, it gets get post, okay. So here you will be getting your ID, okay. So ID as an input, and here you can use find one if you need. So go here, find one, and it takes a parameter, right? So if condition, I mean a condition, okay. So ID is exactly matching your ID, okay. So you just created your services. So what is a service here? If you want to get one particular data based on your ID, okay, mongodb.collection.posts.find one, okay, it's going to be your find one. Only one data will be retrieved here, okay. How? You just mentioned a condition like ID matching whatever the ID that I sent, okay. So in your post route, have one more route here. Okay, so go here. Again, it's going to be get method. It's going to be ID here. Okay, and here it's going to be get post, and you have your ID passed here, like post dot params dot ID. Okay, so we have just created a new route. Okay, it takes ID as a dynamic one, which is a get API. Okay, and we are calling post service dot get post. Okay, so here it is get post. It takes an ID as a parameter and retrieve from your post data, like find one and giving a condition that this ID is going to match the underscore ID. Okay, so now go here. So it's ready. So I'm going to use get method now. Okay, so send. So I'm getting this much of records. Okay, suppose if you want to search or get only one record, just mention that particular ID here. It's going to retrieve that particular data alone. Okay, clear now? How to auto increment ID and set it as primary ID. That's what I mentioned you, right? MongoDB doesn't have anything called primary key or other things. Okay, so there is nothing called auto increment here. So we usually use something called the ID, which is generated by your application. It's your MongoDB itself. Okay, so we don't track any other ID or auto increment ID in our application. So in our database. So it's not relational database. It's going to be a non-relational, no structure, no nothing. Okay. So that's why they itself giving you an ID, okay, instead of we managing them. Yeah. Any other questions do you have on the modalization? Can everyone confirm? Already. So in general, what is the server-side rendering and client-side rendering? So client-side rendering is nothing but you have React, right? So React is a client-side language. So that's what called client-side rendering. Server-side rendering is nothing but your HTML, CSS, everything comes from your server itself. There is no client-side application. Okay, from your server side itself, you will be getting your HTML and other things. Okay, so there will be some libraries with respect to each and every language. For example, if you go to Java, there will be something called .jsp. So you write your HTML part, rendering part, everything in your JSP, and it comes from your server itself. Same way, if you take Node, there is something called Jade, Pug, and those are all something called a server side template. Okay, so server side template is nothing but server side rendering is nothing but your data is also in your backend, and your HTML is going to come from the backend itself. Okay, that's what server side rendering is. Client side rendering is what we are doing now. So we have React in place in the client side. We have Node.js in place in the server side. We communicate between the client and server using the APIs, using the HTTP protocol. Okay, how to store images and videos into database. Why do you want to store videos in database? I can explain about how to store in images. Okay, so basically how we will store the images or whatever the docs. Okay, we will convert them into a different file system. Okay, so there is a concept called MongoDB file system. Okay, so how MongoDB will save your file as a binary and store it in the database. Okay, so it's a different concept. Basically, it's we have something called buckets in MongoDB. We need to create a bucket in MongoDB storage and have all the files. So it can be PDF or any other files like images. So we don't mostly store videos. Okay, so it's a big amount of data. So we basically store images and any other files like docs, PDF, and whatever. Okay, we will store them in the bucket of your MongoDB FS. So it's like advanced concepts in MongoDB. Yeah. here we use Postman. How to get from form? Oh no, that's what we completed our React application, right? So from your React, what we did, we created user ID. We just print user ID. We took title and body and send it to the JSON placeholder, right? Same way here, we are going to send to your own server. So the sample is, so we saw my many demos here. So this is what we saw in the example, right? So we have our form here, title and body and other things. So fill in the form and send it to the, so what you do here is we will be sending it to the JSON placeholder. Instead, send it to your own server. So which is localhost 3001 with a post API. Already, okay. So we just implemented our things. Okay, now you're done with the APIs and other things. Okay, so what you need to do here is, okay, so modalization is done. So modalization is nothing but a coding standard that you need to follow to have all the things in a different module and have them imported whenever you need. Okay, so next topic is .env. Okay, so .env is not, it's nothing but a package. It's an npm package. So this is, so .env, cars, and deploying, these are all related to your deploying your app to any other environment. So like production or QA or whatever the environment that you have. Okay, so basically hosting in you're going to deploy to Heroku and have those APIs used in your application, in your React application, basically. Okay, so these are all the something useful for whenever you deploy to a server. Okay, so I'll say what is a .env. Okay, so .env is nothing but, so for example, this is a local. Okay, we have our code in our local environment. Okay, and for your local, okay, so what is the Mongo URL that you need? So you need this URL. Okay, and in your local we may need node-man and other things. Okay, so these environment variables. Okay, so this differs in a different environment. For example, for your local you need this URL. Okay, same way for any other production environment, we may take it as a atlas. We may take atlas URL and have them placed here. Okay, so dynamically it should change your URL based on the environment, right? So that is what your .env is. Okay, so .env is nothing but we'll be creating a file called .env. Okay, so we'll be creating a file here. Okay, so here based on the environment we will be writing some things here. Okay, for example, so now you are working in local. Okay, so I'll have something like Mongo URL. Okay, or you can have like Mongodb URL. Okay, so here I'm just removing this and have them placed here. Okay, same way in your local you may have a different MongoDB name. Okay, I mean your DB name, and in your server or whatever you may have different DB name. For example, here in Atlas, what we did, we created a database called GUI_post, but in our case it's going to be GUI. Okay, so here GUI. So these are all I created in here .env. Okay, so now how can I access it? Now I don't need these things. Okay, so I'm not sure I'm going to store it in a variable. Instead, I need this MongoDB URL and MongoDB name from the env, right? Okay, so in your index.js, which is your first file here, okay, first you need to install a package called .env, npm install .env. Okay, so if you want to see the documentation here, okay, so go here. I have the package documentation here. Okay, so .env. Okay, so whatever the thing that you want, okay, which is going to change. So whatever the configuration or whatever the environment. Okay, so if you have some data that is going to change between different environments, okay, You need to store them in .env here. For example, when I deploy to Heroku, okay, I will change the URL here and change the database name and deploy to Heroku. Okay. Same way, if I want to deploy it to a different environment, I will change the URL here and change the database name. Okay. So whichever is dynamic, which is going to change in different environments, okay, we need to have them in .env. So .env is nothing but environment. Okay. So now we need to load this configuration, right? And how to access them here. So here I need to, my Mongo, I need the URL, which I placed in my env. Same way, the database name that I mentioned here, I need them here. Okay. How to access this? So that will be your question. Okay. First, go to your root of the folder here. So require .env. Okay. So your .env, and there is a function called config. Okay. If you do this, okay, what will happen here is it will check for the .env file in your application root. Okay, and go here and have this placed inside your env. Okay, so env, how to access those values? So here, instead of taking URL, okay, so there is something called process.env. And whatever the URL that you mentioned here, for example, MongoDB URL, have them placed here. Okay, so what happens here? For example, if you have the URL placed here, okay, something like this. So previously it was like this, right? So if I deploy to Heroku and I need to change the URL, right? So I need to come to the code and change this value inside your code. Same way I need to change here. Okay. Instead, I should not modify anything in my code. Okay. Instead, I need to have one thing called .env. Okay. So whenever there is a change happen, I come to this env file and change the whatever the value that is dynamic in your code. Okay. For example, MongoDB URL is going to change between environments. It's in local, you will use this URL. Same if you deploy to any other server, you need to have that particular whatever the URL that you want to mention. Okay. So those configuration, which is dynamic, we will be writing in .env. Okay, and have them accessed using process.env. That particular property name. Okay. So in order to access them inside your process.env, okay, so you need to import it here. Okay, so you are just loading your configurations here. So require.env.config. Whenever you call this function, what will happen here is it will check for your .env. So in your root application, in your root of the application, okay, and parse these values and put it inside your process.env. Okay. So if you call process.env.mongodb URL, it is basically pointing to this. Okay. Same way in your database name here, what you need to do, process.env dot the whatever the DB name. Okay. So MongoDB name here. Okay. So I'll just copy the same here as well in my log. Okay. So go here and run your application. See, it is taking your GUI database, okay, which I mentioned here. Okay, how it is accessing? Using your .env. Okay, so here it will automatically put everything inside your process.env. We don't need to mention URL or database name here in a different variable. Okay, because this is going to change between environments. Okay, okay. So now we can have everything. We can have these things, or even if you want to have this collection name, suppose you have a collection name here, different collection name. Suppose you have a different collection name here, you can store it in a different variable and have them here mentioned. Okay, so you can do that as well. Okay, so that is the purpose of your .env. Okay, clear? Yes, .env is a default name. Can everyone confirm? Okay, so .env can be created as one file without name. So without name in the sense, so without these properties. So you mean to ask like without these properties? Yes, yes. Just one file for one project X. So it will check for in the root folder of your application and take the .env. Yes. So now we have made it everything into a whatever the dynamic environment is. Okay, we just moved into a .env here. Okay, so then your .env is done. So what is a cost? Okay, so next topic is cost. So I will go here. It's going to be cost package. Okay, so this question was basically someone asked me when they are trying to access some APIs and they got cross-origin request error. Okay, so I will tell you what is a cost basically. Okay, so you have your application, your server side here. Okay, and your server communicates with your client via APIs using HTTP. Okay, so this is how a server and client works. Okay, so this client is your application, your own React application. This server is your own Node.js application. Okay, suppose you have created an API. Okay, so you created an API, and if you want any other service or any other website, okay, to access this data, your server. Okay, suppose you have your APIs here. Okay, so I have my API something like this. Okay, so someone is calling this particular API and getting the data. Okay, do we need to allow them? Yes, we should not allow them. Okay, so basically that is what corp is. Okay, so it is nothing but I forgot the full form. Okay, it's going to be cross origin. Just give me a minute. Yeah, cross origin resource sharing. Okay, so cross origin is nothing but you have a different site. Okay, and your application will be a different site. Okay, so it is a different origin. It's a different origin. If they want to communicate in between your apps, okay, so we need to enable something called cars. Okay, so cars is nothing but if you enable cars, okay, anyone can access your website basically. So even your client, your React will be in a different website, and your server will be in a different website. Okay, for example, basically you deploy client into a different thing called, for example, consider. Okay, so consider your client is in Netlify. Okay, same way your server is in, it's going to be in Heroku. Okay, so this is a different site. Okay, and this is a different site. Okay, so now your Heroku or whatever it is. Okay, so your server will deny. Okay, so it will not allow you to access data even if it is your own client. Okay, so because it's in a different environment, this is in a different environment, this is a different website, this is a different website. Okay, so your cross origin resource sharing is going to be blocked. Okay, so what is the resource here? Your API site. So you are making whenever you make an API call, you are giving data, right? So that's what resources. Okay, so cross origin resource sharing is nothing but you have a different app in your Netlify and you have a different app in Heroku. If they want to communicate between them, okay, you need to enable cars. Okay, so basically it will block you. Okay, it will throw you an error. Okay, so if you want to enable it, okay, so you need to use something called cars. Okay, so cars package. So I'm going to give npm install cars. Okay, so it's installed. So here cars is nothing but a middleware, okay, which is given by your cars package itself. Okay, for example, I can go here and import cars require and cars. Okay, so I just imported my cars package here. Okay, so in my middleware section here, so wherever I can have it here. Okay, app dot use. Okay, so see, it's a middleware, and inside my middleware I have my cars here. Okay, so whenever an API request is coming, okay, it should pass this middleware. Okay, so cars. Okay, so if you do this, what will happen here is your server now can be accessed by any website. Anyone can access your APIs now because you have enabled the cross origin resource sharing. Okay, so cross origin resource sharing is nothing but you have your server in a different domain, you have your client in a different domain or any other website. Okay, if they want to access your server data, it will basically block that. Okay, it will not allow you, it will throw you a CARS error. Okay, if you want to enable them, okay, so you need to use something called CARS, which is a package. Okay, so it's a middleware basically. So you need to apply that middleware here, like app.use.of CARS. Okay, if you mention this, anyone in the web can access your APIs. Okay, so this is not the case, right? So this you should not always do this. Okay, because everyone, if you don't need to allow everyone. Okay, but here you can mention a parameter here. So you can pass an object. Okay, it takes something called origin. Okay, so what is the origin that you want to allow? For example, your app is in Netlify. Okay, you can mention that particular URL alone here. What it means is only your client, which is deployed in Netlify, can access the API, which is in Heroku, which is exactly similar to you're mentioning some origin here. Okay, so you can basically have your origin mentioned here. So if you go to the CARS documentation here, okay. So they have mentioned an example called example.com. Okay, so only that particular site is going to access this particular API. Okay, so you can have them quite in a different array as well. Okay, something like this. We can mention it in the form of different websites. So this is what a CARS is. CARS is nothing but cross origin resource sharing. Okay, so if you want to have other website access them, okay, you need to enable it here. Okay. So if you don't enable anything, suppose if you don't mention anything, anyone can access your CARS API. Okay, so that is the thing. So now for this is for just like a learning purpose, right? I will enable everyone can access it. Okay, so enable CARS for all origin. Okay, so anyone can access my API now. Okay, so we just completed our CARS. Okay. So what if we only want to, yes, that's what I mentioned here. So IP, or you can mention your website URL. Okay, so you can mention it here. Okay, so any questions? So for sure, there will be an interview question on CARS. Okay, so they will ask what is the CARS and how to enable it and how to enable a particular domain alone. Okay, so there will be for sure a question. So whenever you take Node.js, so there should be CARS. Okay, so that is the thing here. Can everyone confirm? Already. So your part is done. Okay, so CARS is also handled by here. Okay, and same way I need to mention something here. So we have our port dynamic static here, right? Okay, so we can have our port inside your .env. So your application port, and I will have it as 3001. Okay, and have them accessed here near Heroku. So where it is. So I can take process .env .port. Okay, so these are all something that changes between the ports. Okay, so I'll have the same log here, process.env.port. My log as well. Okay, simple. I'll just delete this. Okay, so now see your application looks very clean. Okay, so what is the reason? We just separated into a different file. Okay, it's very clean. See here, routes, services, chat, and env. So your application starts at index.js. Okay, so you just imported Express, bootstrapped your Express, you load your configuration, and you just imported your CARS. Okay, and first MongoDB is connected, then your CARS is enabled, and you're parsing the JSON, your request body is enabled, and just for the logging purpose, I have one more middleware, then your routes and starting your server. Okay, so then if there is an error happen, automatically it will come to a cache. Okay, your application will stop here. Okay, so then go to the each and every route here. So post and post routes. Inside your post routes, I'm going to use only my post service. Okay, so it's going to be, you can have any name. I just use post services. So here inside my post services, I have my get post, get posts, get post based on particular ID, create post, update post, and delete post. Okay, so I can mention the commands here as well. So go to the get post here. Here, I just mentioned all my database things. MongoDB.collection.post.find to array and find one, insert, update, and delete. Okay. So same. What else? So we just separated our common logics, which is MongoDB is common to every services, right? So you can have them into a shared folder and have everything. Nothing new. Everything is same. Okay. So then what we did, we just installed our .env and have our whatever the configuration that changes between environments, have them inside your .env here. Okay. So here I just use those URLs like process.env. So if you want to access these things, process.env, you need to load them in index.js like this. Okay. So the last thing is your cars. So you need to enable your cross-origin domain resource sharing. Okay. So in order to other websites to access your data. Okay. So here we are enabling for all. If you want your own application like React application, you can mention them here in your origin. It can be an array or it can be an object. Okay. Any other things? Yes. So your basic Node.js API handling is completed here. Okay. Clear? Do you guys have any questions? Can you go ahead and deploy to Heroku? Alrighty. Okay. So now let's move on to deploy our app to Heroku. Okay. Before that, okay. So I'm going to use this URL. Okay. So whatever the URL is. So here, connect. So I told you, right? So I'm going to use this URL in order to access them. So in my, just go here. So based on the environment, you just need to modify the env alone. Okay. And my password was admin123. And what's the database? It's going to be GUI underscore posts. Okay. So GUI underscore posts. And port can be anything. Okay. So I can have the same thing. Okay. So now we are ready. Okay. We just updated our settings. Okay. So Heroku is nothing but it's a server, very simple server. No big things is going to happen here. Okay. So go here. So I'll start from the scratch, how to sign up and other things. So GUI batch 241 weekday. GUI 241 weekday at gmail.com. It's going to be GUI again. Role student India. Select the language. It's going to be Node.js. So see all the server-side languages here. Okay. Ruby, PHP, Python, Node.js, Java. So ours is Node.js. Go here. Last name contains invalid characters. Okay, so I cannot have numbers. Okay, let it be. Oh. So we just signed up and Okay, let's proceed. Here, so this is how we will be creating our, we just signed up to our Heroku. Okay, so we are going to deploy our code here. Okay, so whatever the server that we have, it's going to deploy into a different app here. Okay, so before moving on to that, okay, first, so yesterday what we did is, did you guys learn Git? So you might have learned it, something called Git commands. So have you learned what is a GitHub and other things? Okay, so same process. Okay, so I'm not going to show you any commands and all. Okay, I'm going to GitHub. I'm going to sign up again. We use the type 241 meeting. So it can be Ruby match 241 meeting. So we just created our GitHub account. So how your Heroku works is, it takes code from your GitHub and deploy it to its server. Okay, so that's how the process is. Okay, we cannot directly do that. Directly we can push our code into GitHub and have them, push our code to Heroku, and we cannot deploy in that way. Okay, so first you need to push your code to your GitHub. So I'll do is, I'll just created something called Groovy app, and can be anything. I can have it public. Just create the repository. Repository. So you guys already learned, right? So what is a repository and other things? Yesterday? Yes. Okay. Fine. So now I'm not going to clone my repository and other things. Okay. I'm going to handle everything here. Okay. So for time being, so I'm going to upload my files here. Okay. So go here. And now one other thing is, for your here, you don't need node man. Okay, you just need node and npm start and other things. Okay, so I'm going to here, where is my application here? So index.js. So these things I'm going to import it here. So instead of having git commit and git push, okay, I'm just using my UI itself. Okay, so that's the only thing. I can have my commit message here. So you might have learned git commit -em and the message. Okay, I will just commit here itself. So what is the message? First commit. Okay, so our code gets pushed into our repository here. Okay, so now let's move on to, so we have our repository ready. Okay, let's move on to the Heroku. Okay, here I'm going to create a new app first. Okay, so the app name is, again, it's going to be Groovy app. And region, you can have any other thing like United States or Europe, you can have anything. So I used it for last batch. So 241 weekday. Okay, so I prefer to use United States here. Okay, and create your app. Okay, so done. So we just imported our, we just created a new project in Heroku, which we did for MongoDB Atlas, right? We just created a new project and do the configurations, right? Same way, I just created a project called Groovy 241 weekday and imported them. Okay, so here you can see there is something called GitHub, and you can use multiple things here. I'm going to use GitHub. So I'm going to connect it to it. So connect to, so when I click on connect to GitHub and connect to GitHub. So here you need to give access to your Heroku. Your GitHub account should be given access to your Heroku. Okay. So authorize Heroku here. Okay. Once you've done it, okay, it will show all the repository names. For example, I will just type G and search. Okay. See, it's showing GUI app, which we created just now, right? So here I just use, this is my username. This is my app, GUI app. Okay. So it is listing here. Okay. So I'm going to connect this to this particular app which I created here. Okay. So connect. Okay. So there are two things here. Okay. What happens here is, so do you guys learn the branch yesterday? So what is a branch and other things? Okay. So basically, every application will have different, every code that is in your repository will have different branch. Okay. And there will be something called main branch here, or you can have something called master or whatever the things. Okay. So this main branch, okay, this main branch will be taken as a thing here. Okay. So what happens here is there are two things. One is you can automatically, you can give, there are two things, automatic deploys and manual deploy. Okay. So if you use manual deploy, you can choose your branch here. Okay. And deploy the branch. So whenever you push your changes to your main branch, okay, you need to come here and choose your branch and deploy it. Okay. If you don't want to do this, there is something called enable automatic deploys. Okay. So you can have any branches selected here. So whenever a code is getting pushed into our main branch, okay, it will automatically deploy it to your Heroku. Okay. So new code, whenever you push it to your Heroku, whenever you push it to the main branch, automatically it will deploy it to Heroku. Okay. So I'm going to use the automatic deploy itself. So whenever I push a new code to my main branch, automatically it will get deployed. So I'll use enable. Okay. So now we have set our automatic deploy section. Okay. So whenever I push it to the thing, okay, it will get deployed. Okay. So we just enable the settings. Okay. So now we need to deploy it for the first time. Okay. So deploy the branch. So it is doing some conflicts like installing the Node.js, like npm install, everything is handling, it is happening here. Okay. So your app is ready. So see, it's deployed to Heroku now. Okay. So here your app was successfully deployed. Okay. View. So this is your API endpoint now. GUI patch 241 and some other thing like here. Okay. So if you use this and make a get API and other things, okay, you can use them as well. Okay. So here, what is the error? Alrighty. So if you guys are guys know this, what will be an error is? So here inside your things here, what we enabled here, database settings. Go back. Okay, first let's see what is the error. It's deployed. Then what is the error? So if we make a get API, Visualize. Okay. I need to install it. I can see logs here, but where is it? So what else we missed here? So let me run our application. npm start. The local itself, it's not running. So we just changed our URL here. So this is not happening. So this is the password I gave it. Guys, do you guys remember this? Yes, now it's connected. And go here. Yes, I'm getting the data. So then what is happening here? So index.js, Mongodb. I have enabled the cars and anyone can access it. Process.env.port. Did I miss anything? Heroku, Modalization, production. So index.js. Oh, my .env is missing here. Yeah, okay. So it will basically, I missed to add .env. So here we drag and drop here, right? So that was an issue. Yes. So it will not show you the hidden files like dot and other things. So that's why the issue is. So what I'll do is I'll create a new file now and push .env here with the content from here. Okay. So added. Okay, the same commit message is enough. Create env. So now see, I'm just pushing it to main branch. Okay, so it should automatically deploy to the server. Okay, so go here and activities. See, automatically build is in progress. So where it is. So I didn't deploy now. Okay, see, automatically it is right. Okay, because what we did, we just enabled the what else? Automatic deploys. Okay, so now once the build is ready, so build is ready. So now it's deployed. Okay, so now let's see. Run this. Okay, now we are getting some response. Go to the APIs here, use the get post. See, our data is here. Okay, so if you want to use post method and insert a new data, so currently I am having these data, so I'm going to insert one more data here. So raw JSON primary here. Okay, and I don't need IDs. So I'm going to pass one more data, something like first post. This is going to be your first post after you deploy. Okay, so first post body. Okay, and user ID can be anything like 300. Send this. Sorry. Okay, now. So it's inserted. Okay, so again, if you use get API and get the response, see the newly added post is ready. Okay, same if you want to update it, go here, use the put method, and for example, I am going to update this post. Okay, so first I'll have something called first update post body, and something like 12. Okay, we do this, it will be updated, and go to the get API and see the response. See, I have mentioned someone asked me like take only one post. Okay, I just use that. Only give that particular ID, it will give you one thing. Okay, if you don't want to do this, get all the post. Okay, so the updated post. Okay, clear on this? Clear on how to deploy them to Heroku? Can everyone confirm? Already, yes. So your deployment part is done. Okay, so now using the Heroku link, we can fetch in React. Exactly. Now this is the, so like JSON placeholder, this is going to be your API URL. Okay, you can fetch you can use this to fetch the data, insert a new data or whatever. Okay, yes. So now okay, what else is missing here? Yes, so we have added everything. So if you want to add some more routes, okay, go over here and add your users.routes.js and add your users.services.js and have much more things if you want to implement this and have them push to Heroku. Okay, so again, see here, so you need to create a Heroku account. You need to have application name here. Okay, once you created it, it will, how it will look. Okay, so this is what it will be. Okay, once you create an application. Okay, and you can see the deployment method. You can use your GitHub because we have deployed our app to GitHub here. So once you do this, you need to give authorization to your GitHub account. Okay, so once you give your authorization, it will list all your repositories here. Okay, so ours is Groovy app. Okay, so use this Groovy app here. So once you do this, and you can enable automatic deploys and choose a particular branch. Okay, so for example, if you disable it, you can disable it. So automatic deploy, you can just mention tick here. Okay, and I took as a main branch. Whenever whenever I push the code to my main branch, automatically it will get deployed to Heroku. Okay, and then go to here. So at the first time, you need to use deploy branch, which is manual thing. Okay, deploy it. Okay, finished. Okay. Once you do this, it will automatically trigger deploys. Okay, whenever you make a push to your main method. Okay, so see, if you go to the logs here, so this is automatically triggered. I just now pushed here, right? It will automatically triggered and it got deployed. Okay, so that is how your Heroku works. Okay, any other questions do you guys have for me? So we don't have to copy node modules. It is auto installed by Heroku. Exactly. We don't need to do that. Everything is done by your Heroku itself. We just point our repository it will take your code from the repository and do the npm install and whatever the things. Okay. Only thing is it takes npm start as a basic command by default. Okay. For example, if you go here and use a different start here, okay, it will not work. You should mention start because it takes npm start as a default one. Okay, so to start your application. Okay, so yes, so then yeah, that's all about your Heroku. Okay, create your application and have them ready. Okay, so it will give you a URL, whatever the name you have here. Suppose if you have GUI batch 241, it will create you the URL in the same name. Okay, so that's how it works. So for pushing files to GitHub, we have to push all the files and folders in our app except node modules. Yeah, exactly. Okay, you need not import node modules because just if you mention if you give npm install, it will again it's going to install the same. Okay, so you need not push them. Also, node modules is just like a chunk of data. We cannot do that. We cannot push that. Okay, it's just a waste of storage. Okay, if you search this link, it shows users data. Okay, so what's happening here? So it's posting your data here, right? Oh, in our website. So go here, use your posts, mention it here. It will work. Only the get method will work. That's what I mentioned here, right? So you can mention get method. I did not mention anything for root. Okay, that's why it's showing cannot get. Okay, suppose if you mention some other things like post, okay, it will retrieve the data. So it matches your URL. So it is same for React also. Push all the files in our app except node. Yes. Whatever the application that has node modules, okay, you should never push your node modules to your GitHub. Okay, it's just a waste of storage. Okay, you can have them installed at any point of time. Okay, it's not needed at all. Yes. Okay, so what you do is try your APIs here. Okay, do the modalization section here. So the same exactly which I do here. Okay, and have your apps deployed to Heroku. Okay, and use it in your React application and see whether it works or not. Okay, so here in your cars, okay, I just enabled for everyone. Okay, so everyone can access. So you can access or anyone can access from web. Okay, because I have enabled cars here. Okay, so if you want to try this URL to make some API requests, you can use this as well if you need for testing purpose. I will stop this. I will stop the service. Like okay, I will have this for this week. Okay, you can try out those things and have them deployed. Okay, the same applies here. You just try creating your own apps in your MongoDB Atlas and in Heroku itself, Heroku and GitHub. Okay, so have them linked to one another, and all the services will be linked, and you can just access those APIs that you created. Okay, so I just created like only post. Okay, you can create any routes, whatever the things you want, and if you want to try out any other new APIs, you can try any application. So take a sample application. Suppose if you want to develop a student management system or any other attendance management system, whatever things, take an example, create APIs for each and everything based on your exposure to that APIs. Okay, so I just showed you how to create APIs, right? So you can just follow the same exposure and have them imported in your own app. Just choose your own app that you want to implement and try out the things. Okay. Yes, so today's class will be very short. Okay, stay as a freelancer. How do I deploy the website? Okay, so here you deployed your own app here, right? Okay. There are something like, so Heroku is nothing but short-term deployments. Okay, so I am not sure how whether we can give our domain names here. See here, so there is a domain name here. Okay, so for example, if you go to Heroku, okay, if you want your own websites, you can deploy them to Heroku as well. Okay, and if you want to buy your domain, you can go and buy your own domain, like some other things like in your name, like Arun Kumar at arunkumar.com or whatever the things. Okay, have them there. Okay, and add your domains here. Okay, so here you can add them, and your each and every whenever you create a new domain, it will give you a certificate. Okay, so SSL certificate. So what it means is whether it is a secured site or not. Okay, that's what it will give you. Okay, you can choose them. Just add your domain here. For example, Heroku gives us a default one. Okay, suppose if you want to have it as something like gooey.com, okay, you just buy this domain from any other vendors, okay, and have them here, okay, and have your certificates added here. Okay, so once you do this, it will go to the next set of things. Okay, so see it tells me and gooey.com is already available. Okay, it's not your own website. Okay, the same way you can have any websites domain name here, add them here. So whenever they come to your website, okay, it will automatically have them access to your Heroku, which we created here, right? So this particular domain will be pointed to whatever the domain that you have. Okay, so this is something with Heroku. Same way for whatever the server that you go, and for example, if you deploy your app to AWS or Google Cloud, whatever, okay, you just want to buy your own domain, okay. So buy your domain there and have them connected here in your server. If it is a AWS, if it is a Heroku, if it is a Google Cloud, you should add them here in this domain here. Okay. Yes. Okay. I'm getting comments from personal chat. Yes. If you don't have any questions, yeah, that's it for today. So it's very short, and I have the resources here, and I will give you this. So we have two more classes pending. One is okay. We will have it on Monday and Tuesday. Okay. So here it is. And here is your feedback form. Do you guys need this? Need references? If I give references, you will copy it, right? I don't need it, right? Okay, assuming you don't copy it. Okay, so please try out your own things. Okay, don't copy. Node. And here is a file. And task. Okay, I don't have any task here. Okay, so please forgot to mention, please complete your Zen portal task. So there may be like I think there may be like multiple tasks, so it's mandatory, so do that. So I gave you some task in React. Okay, so that's it. That is for uh, with specific to my learning. Okay, so I'm not. I took class for you, right? So it's just for my satisfaction. Okay, so you need to complete those tasks in your Zen portal. And Node.js, I don't have any other things. Okay, so basically you need to create some APIs So this is going to be your post state. So create the same for your users and other routes. Okay, so that is what I have here, and connect them to MongoDB, get the data from there, and much more things. Okay. Other than that, I don't have any task for this. Alrighty. Okay. So here is your feedback form. Can you explain this task? So what is this task about? Okay, this is for React, right? Okay. So what you need to do here is this is from your bootstrap. Okay, it uses pure HTML and CSS. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to separate this into different components. Okay, and have this placed. For example, this is like one component. It takes earnings monthly and takes some parameters. Okay, so you can have one component created like 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, and have them reused in 4 parts. Okay, same way, this is going to be a side navigation. Here it's going to be a header. Okay, so it's going to be a header here, and you need to have a search bar. So every HTML, CSS is ready. You need to how you think and complete separate into a different component matters here. Okay, so that is the only thing. So for your chat box and everything, so you just need to use the same. There is no there is no logics here. You need to fetch the data from the server and display them. Okay, I think in that way. Okay, but here you need to understand here is you need to just separate them into different components. This should be a different component, this should be a different component, and this should be a different component. Okay, so if you download this, okay, so there will be a source here. So there was a download button there, right? So you can download it here. Okay, so what happens here is, so I will refresh. So here it's your code is ready for HTML and CSS, everything is ready. So you need to basically create this modify this normal HTML into a different React component. Okay, so that is your task, and that's where how you think. Okay, yes, so that's your task. So any other questions? So here you need to use routes. So utilities, click on colors. Okay, so you need to load that particular component. Borders, you need to load that particular component, and buttons, you need to load that particular component. Okay, you can have them have in the URL as well if you want. Okay, so basically you need to do just everything is static. Okay, so you need to just have everything static here. And what else? Yes. So I assume this is your task. Okay, so basically, so how to create that graph? Yeah, actually this would be a different there will be a library. You need to supply some JSON data to that particular library. It will automatically put you graph. Clear? So here, if you open this particular file, okay, what will happen here is it's a different library. So there may be like graphical things, some other things. Okay, you just need to give a JSON data. So basically there will be a static JSON data here. That's why it's displaying some data here. Okay, so static data, you need to pass that data as a JSON to that particular library. It will just draw all the graphical things. Okay, the same applies here. You just need to send some value. If you mention 20, it will just have this in this way. You need to supply a color. Okay, so if you open this file, okay, so everything will be there. Okay, it is just a static one. Again, you are going to develop a static one only. Only thing is you are going to separate them into different components. Okay, so here it's going to be a table, and you can have some static. Here it is a static data. Okay, same way if you go to pages, login, and yes, there are like buttons, cards. Okay, you just use these components in your things. Okay, so what is the task reason behind this task is you will be familiar with your bootstrap. Okay, so it is going to be like if you want to use circle buttons, you need to use button circle. Okay, don't just copy the code that is inside that particular source. Okay, instead read each and every line, like how to mention what is the class name you mentioned, what is the color it is applied, and see those things. Same way for your cards. So this is your card, this is your card, this can be a card, this can be a card. Okay. So here it's a dashboard. Here it comprises of all the logics that are mentioned here. So components, there is something called buttons. Okay. So there will be some buttons here. Same way, if you click on cards, so this is a card. So it gives references to that particular section. Same way, pages, you can have login and other things. So charts, okay. So this is the chart I mentioned you right in the home page. So you need to call this file, which is JS demo chart area demo.js file. You can see the reference there. Okay. So basically it's used something called chart.js. Okay. So there is something called chart.js is a library. So you need to basically supply these values. So if you want to give you an example, so you need to basically import your chart, which is a script tag. Okay. So once you do this, you need to select which is the div that you want to select. Okay. And you need to supply the data, something like this. So red, blue, yellow, green, and whatever the data sets. Okay. If you mention this, okay. So exactly similar way, if you mention something like this value, this value, this value as a JSON, supply to this particular file. Okay. It will automatically draw these things. Okay. You need not concentrate more on the things here. You just need to send a JSON. Same applies here. If you supply some JSON, it will automatically put you the graph. Yes. So do you guys have any other questions? Can everyone confirm? If not, we can wind up the session. Alrighty. Okay. So there's the feedback form. Okay. So please fill in that and we'll see it on Monday. Okay. Thank you guys and see you on Monday. Bye. So next week, what topics? So there are 2 topics pending in Node, which is owner's authentication and owner's authorization. We'll see it on Monday.